Shrimp is the ultimate weeknight protein, whether you're living a pescatarian lifestyle or just looking to include more seafood in your everyday. I have 3 recipes that your family is sure to love. These salad shrimp are the perfect ingredient for making a delicious and flavorful high protein lunch or easy dinner. They're great because they are already cooked, so you can use them in a shrimp salad like I'm going to show you how to make today, or even something like ceviche, which you can take a mango salsa or some chopped pineapple salsa and let these marinate overnight as they defrost, and it's going to really make the shrimp nice and flavorful. So what I've already done is overnight I defrosted in the refrigerator about a cup of these salad shrimp. That's a great way to defrost your frozen shrimp. If you know in advance that you're going to make it, take out the amount that you are going to make and let it defrost for roughly 24 hours in the refrigerator. That's gonna give it really good flavor. If you do forget though, you can always just run the shrimp under cold water to defrost them, and it only takes about 10 to 20 minutes. So to our salad shrimp, we are going to add some veggies. And why I love this recipe is it is so flavorful, colorful, and it hits on all those things you want from a good lunch. You're going to get your protein, you're going to get your veggies, but not in a boring way. So I have some red onion here that I'm gonna cut. The recipe calls for about a 1/4 cup. I tend to go a little heavy on the red onion because I just love the flavor of it. So we're chopping that up. And if you want to, you could just get the red onion pre-chopped in our produce section if you want to limit the amount of chopping that you have to do. I did that with my celery, which we're going to add to this. Okay, so I'm just going to give that a nice fine chop, and we're going to add it right into our shrimp. Now the other vegetable that I'm going to add, I think that onions and celery is pretty common for most of your tunas, chicken, and shrimp salad. But I'm gonna add some cucumber because, and this was the celery, but I'm gonna add some additional cucumber because this is a dill forward salad. So from adding those cucumbers, you kind of get that pickle flavor, which is really nice, but it's gonna be a little bit fresher since we are adding these mini cucumbers. I prefer the mini cucumbers to an English cucumber or regular cucumber because I find that they just naturally have a little less water. And so you get more of a crunch, and it's not going to make your salad all soupy. So I'm gonna do 1 to 2. 1 looks good for now. All right, then I am going to take half a lemon, and I'm using one that has seeds, so we wanna make sure we catch them. So we're just gonna squeeze it right over. Terrific. And then instead of mayonnaise, I am using Greek yogurt. So this is a wonderful way to add even more protein. You've got that tanginess, but you're keeping it super duper protein friendly, diabetic friendly. And I'm adding about a 1/4 cup to that lemon juice and the rest of our ingredients. And then lastly, we have our dill, which is our herby star of the show. And it gives, again, dill, you find it in your pickle jars a lot of the time. It is such a bright flavor. It's kind of lemony, but again, it just always reminds me of pickles. And you just want to get those fronds off and then just go right in and chop. Make sure any of your thicker pieces of the stem you're really cutting into. I find a little goes a long way, so I'm adding probably about a tablespoon. Oh, it smells so good. And then we're just gonna mix that together. And you're going to let it sit for about an hour to just let all those flavors marry together. So I have my finished one here. You could see it got a little bit more liquidy, which is good. It's all that flavor, really everything coming together. And then if you want to continue to keep it more high protein, I have these protein wraps that are lower in carbs. Makes this a very diabetic friendly lunch. And that's my favorite way always to eat any of my kind of lunch salads, those tunas, shrimp, and chicken salad. Just put it on your wrap, roll it up, and you have got a veggie-full, protein-full, low-carb lunch. Baked shrimp scampi is a great take on a classic dish. We're gonna mix together the sauce, bake it on top of the shrimp, and then layer it onto whatever carbohydrate you want. So let's start with that sauce. I'm gonna start with some tomatoes. I like to use the ones The whole ones in the jar, they have the best flavor in my opinion versus using raw ones, especially if it's out of season. I'm using about half the can. Then I'm gonna add half a squeeze of lemon. Chop up a little bit of garlic. Gotta have garlic in a scampi or Italian dish. I'm only using 2 cloves, which is pretty small for me, but I've made this many times before, so I know it's plenty. Then we're gonna add about a 1/4 cup of red onion. You could also use shallot if you want to. And then a teaspoon of, here, I'm gonna actually pop that cap off. There we go, we need a little bit more, there we go. A teaspoon of Italian seasoning. All right, and then we're just gonna mix all that together. Press it down. And it smells fantastic already. And then we're going to take our shrimp, which I've already peeled and defrosted, add a little bit of olive oil to the shrimp, a little bit more Italian seasoning, mix that up, and we're gonna combine the two. You wanna make sure you are coating those shrimp in the sauce. And then take a baking dish or an oven-safe dish. I'm using the cast iron here. And we're just going to put it down in one layer on the pan. And we're going to let this bake for roughly 10 to 15 minutes in a 350-degree oven. Whoop. So it's a more set it and forget it dish, which is wonderful. And then I have this brown rice quinoa. So if you want to keep this gluten-free and not use a pasta, make it a little bit healthier, higher fiber, you can use this, the Wholesome Pantry mix, which I've microwaved. And that's a really nice base for your dish. Now I have right here, just to give you a little bit of inspiration, if you want to make it a little bit more of an elevated dish, these are a really delicious specialty shrimp. We have the Argentinian shrimp. They have a sweeter taste. These ones are cut to grill, but you can definitely bake them too with that sauce on top if you want to make it a little bit more of an elevated version of the scampi. But if you want to use whatever shrimp that you have in your freezer, that works too. So then you're just going to plate them after they come out cooked. That sauce is going to mix together from the pan and you are good to go. Seafood is always a good idea, and especially if you are abstaining from meat, maybe eating less of it during the Lenten season, and having frozen shrimp, especially these easy peel ones from Bowl and Basket in your freezer, is great for a quick protein and an easy meal any night of the week. This one that I'm doing, this Thai shrimp stir fry, is perfect. Minimal ingredients, minimal prep, and you can mix and match so that you can have different meals all week long. So the way that I defrost the shrimp is I run it under cold water for about a minute or two, and then the easy peel portion truly is that. You just sort of pinch the inner part of the shrimp, and then you pull and get those shells off. Now I do like to save this because you can actually make a shrimp stock, and so it's a nice way to not, waste your shrimp. And it's also a way to kind of get your kids involved with cooking the protein part of the meal, letting them do this part and getting involved in a little bit more of the, we won't call it intense prep, but so often we're letting our kids mix things and we keep it relatively simple. And this is something that they can do to get their hands dirty, but really help you out while you are doing other elements of the dish. So you just want to make sure that they're not totally frozen, but even if they're still a little bit cold, that's fine. The shrimp cook up really, really fast, and that is what we want. So now we are going to get started on the flavor part of our meal. So I have a shallot here. I am just going to cut that up. I love shallots. They are milder than onion, which we love, and they really melt into the flavor of a sauce, which works nicely if you're just looking for a little bit of flavor, but not something as abrasive as an onion. So Bowl and Basket shallots are something that are always in my refrigerator for sure, for just easy meal prep. Okay, so just one is fine. Adding a little bit of olive oil to our pan. And stir fries are something that are just really great for any weeknight dish because they're so simple. We just are really looking to bring flavors together, and maybe we'll use a sauce to help us out, which is certainly what we're doing in this recipe. I'm gonna do a little bit of garlic, which I already mashed up. We're just peeling it. Now, any aspect of this dish that maybe you want to have it be easier, you could always buy the garlic in the tube in the fresh produce section, and then you just have to squeeze a little bit out. And you could also buy the onions pre-prepped or frozen. I don't think shallots, that's something that you usually have to prep yourself, but onion you can certainly find ready to go. All right. And I'm just tearing up because this dish is so easy and so good. These onions are making me a little teary-eyed. Don't worry, we're still happy to be cooking. All right, just sauteing those up. Now I have my Wholesome Pantry green beans. These are steam in a bag, so you can certainly just have this on the side, but I'm looking for them to be a little crispier, so I am not going to microwave them. I want them to maintain that texture, so I am just pouring them right in from the bag. And we want them in that whole preparation style, totally fine. All right. Great. Now what I'm going to do is push this to the side, just as I let it cook, and I'm gonna put my shrimp in. Now what we want to do is we want to make sure we don't overcook our shrimp. We want them to curl into a C, but not into an O. So when they're touching and they're curling too much, that means we've overcooked them and they get a little bit chewy. We don't want that. So I am laying them down because you don't want them to steam. If you crowd the pan, they're going to steam just like anything else. And we want to get a nice little caramelization from the olive oil on there. And it only takes a few seconds. Then for our flavor, we're just gonna add a little bit of this curry paste. And while I am sauteing it, I'm just gonna lay it on top of the vegetables for now. And then as soon as those shrimp cook, we're gonna move everything together. And now I'm using another easy part of this meal. We have our Wholesome Pantry basmati rice, which is microwaved, so we don't have to worry about making another plate or pot dirty cooking that rice. We're just going to put it right on our plate. Okay. And it's been about a minute or so for our shrimp. So I'm going to turn them over, and you're gonna see exactly what we want. We wanna see that pinkish orange, but again, they're not curling up into an O. That's what we're trying to avoid. They really don't take long, which is something that makes the shrimp such a wonderful weeknight protein. And now that the heat has hit that other side, we're gonna bring it all together. We're going to make sure that that sauce hits the bottom of our pan because we wanna make sure it's cooked. And just like when you cook tomato paste, you want to make sure that you're getting that smell of it cooking, that you're not leaving it raw. So anytime you have a paste that you're using as kind of a semi-homemade element of your meal, you wanna make sure that you are letting it hit the heat so that you are cooking out some of that tomato flavor or whatever sort of taste is giving it that essence. And it smells so good. Now those shrimp are already cooked, so at this point what I'm going to do is just lower the heat, and you could cover it and just allow it to steam through to cook those string beans a little bit more. And then as soon as the string beans are cooked or steamed to the desired doneness, you're going to layer it on top of your rice. And that is your easy weeknight meal. Only a few ingredients, very easy to pick stuff that you can microwave, like the rice, green beans that are pre-washed, and shrimp, which you just have to peel and defrost under that cold water. Like and follow for more.